This is only a webinar for lenders to understand sort of what we've uncovered in our research in working over the last 3 months full time on this situation. So thanks for taking the time. I think we'll start with an introduction. My name is Christopher Riley. I myself have a master's in organizational psychology. I'm a forensic auditor, M&A licensed. We do a lot of due diligence. But then we needed to understand the borrower scenario. And that's what I think you're going to get out of this webinar today. What is the borrower going to go through? You, the lender, may have the answer. We may have the answer. The tech software people may have the answer. But if the borrower is perceiving something is wrong, or they don't have the answer, or they don't understand it, that's reality. The perception is reality at that point, and they're going to call you, and they're going to email you. They probably already are doing that. We've got a way to get around that for the most part. And I think some folks are doing a great job of getting their portals going and up and running, but they've missed something. They've missed the user experience because the user has never gone through something quite like this before. This is the second half of a football game where you don't exactly know what the rules are. They're not the same as the first half of the football game. So I'm going to introduce Adam Grounds, who is on that software developer aspect. He's got tech experience, highly educated in a lot of different regards, but mainly how the workflow of a process works. Adam, this is really the key to it. The months and months of work that we've gone through, listening to borrowers, talking with lenders, trying to understand, talking with lawyers, and reading everything, it's come down to these 6 things. And if you can master and hit all 6 of these things, then you've got it. But they all have to interrelate. If they don't interrelate and you have one over here and one over here that's not talking to each other, that's the problem. So we're actually going to show you how all of these come together. This is the solution for making this forgiveness process seamless. So
number 1, proactively communicate. The more you can push information out to your borrowers before they have to ask for it, the better. 8 weeks is up for many borrowers now. Have you sent anything out to them about what's coming down the pipeline? Have you told them when they're going to be able to apply, or that there's any progress being made on a portal? What have you communicated? You want to be doing that proactively. So number 2, preemptively provide the answers borrowers need. This sounds straightforward. It can be kind of tricky. An example here could be a independent contractor. They don't have employees. They didn't have employees that factored into their loan amount calculations. They get to use the easy form. That's great. They get to a question that's going to ask them, can you certify that you did not reduce the hours of your employees? Can you certify that you did not reduce the wage of your employees? Those questions, while technically they don't have employees, so yes, they can certify those things because they technically didn't. It's just one place where you might raise questions. There are a lot of places like this along the application path. It's things to think about ahead of time, and to the extent you can, if you can help answer these questions for your borrowers ahead of time through like creative guides, instructions for them, that'll be really helpful in the long run and save you time from having to answer these questions one-on-one. The next part, quickly update instructions in a centralized location so borrowers always have access to the most up-to-date directions. We all know that the SBA and the Treasury will trickle out new guidance every couple of days. Something gets published. Rather than in an email always pushing out the changes of sending something to your borrowers, a list of the changes that came out in a new IFR, it's really better to have a strategy where maybe it's a web page that you have set up on your website. It's kind of the single source of truth. And so anytime there's a change, you'll update some information on that web page, and then you tell your borrowers, always look to that web page for the most up-to-date information as it relates to how we want you to file your application with us. Give them that single place to always go to. That'll make your life easier. It'll make their life easier. They don't dig through multiple emails trying to find that one thing you mentioned before. They go to this page. They always know it's up to date. Similarly, rely on leverage provided by content and not man hours. What I mean by that is, let's say you have 200 different small businesses, sole proprietors, independent contractors, husband-wife teams that are running a business, smaller businesses that might have a similar path through the easy form. If they're going to have a similar set of questions and they're going to call you with that similar set of questions, you don't really want to have that conversation 100, 200 times. What's a lot more effective for you and gives you a lot more leverage on your time is spend 1 hour, write up a description, a set of instructions, something that's going to guide all of those people through that question and provide the answer for them. You create it once, you can distribute it, you can put it on your website, make a YouTube video, anything like that. Create some piece of content that's going to provide leverage. You spend 1 hour making it, but it saves you 100 hours because 100 different people watch it and they would have had that question. So that's just another quick tip. The other thing in 5 and 6 here seemingly are in conflict, but they don't have to be. And so the two points here, one is customize the application path for each borrower. What I mean by that is the independent contractor doesn't need to know all the instructions that 300-person C Corp would need to know to fill out their application. Likewise, an S Corp owner needs slightly different instructions for how to fill out their owner's compensation than a general partner of a law firm. If you can understand the different paths that the borrowers you're working with are going to need to take through their application, you can customize a set of instructions for each of them. And it doesn't have to be per company, but per rough pathway through this application. It's going to make your borrowers have a much better experience trying to fill this out. It's going to reduce the number of questions they have to bug you about. It's going to make them happier. It's going to give you a better, more accurate application to review. Similarly, the more you can guide your borrowers on what kind of information to submit to you, the format you want it in, you give them an empty spreadsheet, you want them to fill it out in a certain way with certain information, the more you can control the information the borrower submits to you, the better your review process can be, the more standardized you can make the process with which you grab and store all that information. So standardizing is good. It helps on a lot of different things, has a lot of downstream effects. And when I said that customizing and standardizing are kind of in conflict, you can see that you can at the same time help each individual borrower understand their path through the application and what calculations they need to perform, while also making sure that the information they submit will look similar to any other company, especially any other company of their size. It'll be their information in it, but you'll always know with what they're submitting where to go to look for certain things. Now, what effect does that have? You can see all of these things here, all these good application processes. If you follow this checklist, it will lead to a graph that looks like this. Instead of a high amount of effort on all these small ones that have questions and are emailing you, calling you about these small questions they have, the amount of effort you have to put in is greatly reduced. And the amount of effort for these medium-sized ones, it stays pretty flat because you're using good strategies, good process strategies, good content strategies to give them what they need so they don't have to bug you and waste man hours that you could be putting elsewhere to get the answers that you're providing. What does this do to your profitability? If you don't have these small borrowers with the very small processing fees asking you tons of questions because you've given them what they need ahead of time, yes, you had to invest an hour or two into giving them the content they need, and you have to do different content for each kind of bracket of borrower, but you save a lot of time, and that increases your overall profitability per loan. You keep more of the processing fee because you didn't have to spend it in man hours. Or another way of looking at it is you saved a lot of opportunity cost. The hours that would have gone into answering the phone can be spent on other things that drive the business forward. In addition to the increased profitability, you also generate happier customers, and that's another way to drive some good business to your bank. Especially as a lot of other borrowers are going through this process at their banks, they're getting frustrated with the process that they have. If they hear that your bank has a really seamless process, that's going to help your reputation in the small business community. I would bet it's going to drive new business. There's a lot of statistics out there saying that in this year, people are actually open to shifting banks, especially as they got hung up with their lenders during the PPP loan application process. They were frustrated then. They're open to switching banks. They're going to close out their PPP loan wherever they are. And if someone else had a much better process and their customers are a lot happier, you might be able to drive some new business your way that way. What do we do on our end that actually helps bring these things together? We solve both sides of these problems. So for both the checklists I talked about of what should the requirements be for each side of this, we do both of those. We help the borrowers fill out their application, and we help the lender perform their reviews. And we do it in one fully integrated platform. So it feeds into each other really nicely. If you don't have both of these set up, there's a lot of frustration points for the borrower and the lender. This is from last week when the new applications came out. We dynamically and very quickly pushed out an update to our system that gathers the applications to account for the fact that there's now 2 applications. Our application is fully dynamic, and so we're able to handle when borrowers come to our system. Every borrower is going to have a different path through our application generator based on what answers they give us. If they're a C Corp, they're going to see something. If they're an independent contractor with no employees, they'll see something else. They'll only see what they need, so they're not overwhelmed with extra information. We're trying to keep it simple for them, trying to help them do this quickly and accurately. So the really important part here is that it's dynamic. Every borrower gets a customized version of the application that fits exactly what they need and what they need to know in order to file their forgiveness application.
So for instance, Adam, do you include retirement costs provided by the organization for the benefit of the employee in a C Corp, in an S Corp, in a partnership, or self-employed? Do you include the health insurance contributions for the benefit of the employee by the employer in self-employment? No. In a sub S? No. In a C Corp? Yes. So all of those aspects are a phone call. I've counted about 6 to 7 phone calls that they're going to run into that your system answers with one click of a button. What tax return do you file? And then boom, all the FAQs are right there, whether you're to include retirement income, whether you're to include the health insurance, what are you eligible for? Is it 2.5 times a certain amount? Is it 850 seconds? Well, whether you're doing the 8 or the 24 week is going to depend on that. What if you do 16 weeks? What if you have the interim that you're going to file? We still have the maximum amount. However, can you take the maximum amount? Those are all questions that will be answered as we evolve. Within a couple days, we will update our system as soon as the SBA comes out with their guidance. But please do not make the assumption that these folks are going to figure it out themselves or push it to their CPA. It just isn't going to happen. They're going to need clarification on all of those items. The easy form is great, but there's one line for cash compensation, and you have, depending on what kind of self-employed borrower you are, you have to understand which one you can get. We have all the tax returns detailed out. And I've circled all of the lines, the 31 for the Schedule C, the 14 and the 12, and then the 1120S. There is no self-employment that you get to take. So you're either a W-2 employee as a self-employed owner employee, or you get nothing. And that's an angry borrower now. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, Adam, because on the owner compensation page, we have an entire module for that. And if you want to look at how many borrowers are in that level, we can show you how many borrowers are in that self-employed level. It's 1/3 to 45% of the entire portfolio of a lender. It really is daunting. So Adam, how does our system, back to that page of what you were doing, once they select the tax return, how does that system then get to a 3508 or a 3508EZ? How does it know which one to do?
And so going back to this page, we ask, what kind of entity are you? What tax form does the owner file? Because that's what it comes down to, so we can help guide them. If you're an independent contractor, do you have payroll or do you not have payroll? Do you have employees or just owner payroll? We ask all these questions. We can dynamically serve up the information and the instructions that are most relevant to every single borrower that is applying. That's when I spoke earlier about having customized application paths for everyone. That's kind of what I mean, that if you give the independent contractor with no employees too much information, you're going to overwhelm them. If you give the C corporation with 100 employees too little information, yes, they can go and get it themselves. They'd rather you give it to them, though. So there's a middle ground, and that middle ground is you kind of customize it for each one of them, and that's what we've done here. The other thing is we have a large borrower knowledge library. We have a lot of text instruction that gets dynamically served. We have a lot of walkthrough videos. They will walk people through every facet of this application. This is just a screenshot of the first page we have on some of the YouTube videos. A lot of these are not actually listed for you to find. You would only see them in our application because it so relates to the application that they're filing through us. But you can just see there's a lot of videos here. There's literally hours worth of content in here. We put it together to make it easy for borrowers to know what they need to know to file. There's 4 things you are required to check. These are the 4 of them. And so we build workflows around the things you need to do so you can, in a repeatable way, review each of these applications. You can review the documents. You can see a list of all the documentation that's available, all of the figures that are in the application itself. You can see the calculations put together. In this case, you see an FTE calculation, hours worked. So we make it easy for you to review what you need to review quickly and efficiently. And it's tied back to those workflows, those processes. So you do it in a repeatable way so everyone's doing it in the same way. But our solution, we have 3 different branching options, and we're happy to do some customized stuff. If you don't quite see something that works for you in here and you want to discuss with us, we're totally open to that. Reach out. But the 3 popular options, there's a fully integrated platform. You get the whole borrower portal, the whole borrower toolkit. All your borrowers can use this to submit their application, and all the information gets collected in a dashboard where you get to review it on the lender side. It's that workflow-based dashboard that helps you walk through it quickly. If you already have a portal set up, we know there's a lot of companies out there that, a lot of banks that are already in the process of getting a portal set up, that just ask, what's on line 1, what's on line 2, or even it has some instructions, but you don't think it's quite going to do it for you. Or at some point, maybe you start accepting applications and you see the questions coming and you realize that what you had for your portal is not quite going to do it. We have just the borrower solution side of things. So if you just want to use that, you can pay, it's per loan, you pay us, and essentially all your borrowers can work their way through our system. We can, depending on what works for you, and this is where we can work with you, how do you want to collect that information? Would you rather they still just go back to your system and plug it in your portal? But by using our system, they know all the right answers to the questions? Or do you want us to collect all that information? You don't need the whole lender dashboard. You just want kind of a quick file upload or something. We can work with you on that. The third option is what we call the preferred lender option. It's if you think you have almost like an insurance policy a little bit. You think you have a good system, you're not sure. What you want to do is you pay a small fee per loan. It's less than either of these 2 options, but it's a smaller fee. You pay that fee up front, and then it gives all of your borrowers a subsidized access to the borrower side of the platform, to our whole borrower toolkit, to the borrower knowledge library, all this information that helps them feel confident that they're filing their application properly.
You have our information. You have my email address from the invite. We're going to be doing these webinars every week. So as you're processing through and thinking and talking with your folks who are making these decisions, you're looking at whether you're going to get a digital portal or not, or how many people you're going to have to process. I'm going to send this to you. Everybody that showed up, or at least told me that they wanted the recording of it, I'm going to send you the PowerPoint presentation so that you can process through that. And we're happy to look at that on an individual basis with your bank. And really, I just need to know how many loans you've got, and I can pretty much break down what that looks like unless you have a unique situation. And we can help you with that workflow. So we look forward to seeing you out there, as we call it, on the battlefield. But let us get down on the ground with you on what your borrowers are going to be really facing week after week. And let's see if we can't solve this problem for you and keep that customer service going in a positive direction. I think we've brought some business to some banks because the larger banks fumbled the ball. Don't fumble the ball now that you've got it. Make sure that this forgiveness process is seamless and painless for your customers, and you get to keep those new customers that you've got. So anyway, thanks for joining. I haven't seen anything else pop up from the question perspective, so I'll let everybody go. I know it's late for some of you on the East Coast, and you folks on the West Coast, you still have some sunshine ahead of you. So have a great weekend, and we look forward to hearing from you. And if obviously you have any specific questions, you can email myself, Adam, Cal's on our team, and we're here to help. So anyway, appreciate it, and thank you for participating. We really appreciate the time that you took today.